Hi, and welcome to Slick Willy Fly, and today we're gonna do this Hotspot rubber leg inshore fly. I don't really have a name. Basically, this is a inshore fly redfish. Redfish is my actual target. I'm getting ready for a trip to Florida soon, and I'm just kind of loading up my box. So I'm making flies that are kind of not really single species targets. This is for me the inshore. I'm going to be there in the winter, so it's not really bonefish time, but I will find some redfish. I will hopefully find some snook and some juvenile tarpon that are not migrating. And anything else, jacks, ladyfish, you name it. So I'm tying up some flies that are kind of good for a variety of species. And this is that kind of fly. You know, it's got a little bit of a Charlie, not really, it's a little bit bigger than a Charlie, a little bit of a gotcha slash Clouser-ish mentality going on here. But yeah, it's a great fly. So for materials, I'm using a size 4 saltwater hook, bead chain for the weight. Using my homemade large eyes that I make. Probably use black again. For the hotspot, this is interesting. You know, I'm probably like everyone else who watches that we have materials that we've had for a long time. So I have this little package of what the only thing I could describe it as is some form of an EP fiber. And the only information I have on the package, it says that this is fluorescent orange, but I think maybe it was fluorescent orange 20 years ago. Today it looks more like salmon pink to me, or I don't know, but it doesn't look orange anymore. And I think it just changed colors with time sitting in my closet. I'm going to use, instead of this really dark brown ribbing that I used on this one, I'm going to use this is Larva Lace. It's also very old. I'll show you the package. It's around here somewhere. Here's the packaging. I mean, it is old stuff, but there's nothing wrong with it, so I'm using it. And in this particular color, which looks very tan, I bet it was more pink years ago, but to me it looks very tan today. But it's actually called Shrimp Body. But so it's fine. I mean, it's a color that I like. I'm not really worried about what colors are called. I think it'll look good. In this one that I'm going to make, I'm probably going to go similar to a video that I recently released where I did a furry Charlie. And I'm going to put a little bit of Ostrich inside the ribbing. For what else do we have? Oh, and then I'm going to use Bucktail, brown Bucktail for the wing. Oh, and for rubber legs, I got these root beer gold flake silly legs. So I'll probably use, I don't know, 3 or 4 silly legs. Super simple fly. Will definitely catch pretty much anything in the inshore. And easy to tie, easy to cast. It's just a great fly. So don't forget to have a cocktail with me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And I say we change the camera angle. I'll prep a little bit more so we make it quick. And let's tie this fly. All right. Let's go ahead and put a hook in. And a little super glue. Oh, I guess I didn't talk about the thread. For thread, I'm using 140 denier Ultra in olive, just because I think olive kind of goes good with this fly. But any thread, any color, whatever works for you, that's fine. I will give you a little tip. I like to take my thread a little bit into the bend of the hook, because what that does is it makes the materials kind of have that little angle, so when this fly, if it's sitting on the bottom, the materials are still kind of sticking up off the bottom. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and put on is going to be some bead chain, which I have here, but I didn't prep. Remember, when you cut bead chain, you don't use your scissors. It'll just destroy your scissors. If you have a wire cutter or a really old pair of scissors, it's a much better idea. So my placement for the bead chain is basically far enough back that I can have room for a knot, and if I wanted to, I could put a weed guard. You know, weed guards are, sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. It's not a bad idea to have a weed guard, but it's not necessary to have a weed guard. So again, like you've seen me do a bunch of times, I don't count wraps. I just get it secured, and then once it's secured, I give it these figure eights over the hook and under the bead chain just to lock it in nice and hard. And that's that. So now it's the Hotspot. So I got a little piece of this fluorescent orange, which looks salmon pink to me, but whatever, you know. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this on the hook, and this does not need to be long. I really don't want this to be long at all. The biggest thing that I'm worried about is the tie-in point. What you see is into the curve. So now I'm just going to use some of it to give me a little body, working it up towards the bead chain just to give me a little bit more size in the body. And now I can trim all that tag off. You could save it, you could tie another fly. This was actually left over from the fly that was in the vise. Lock that down nice and tight. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my eyes on, or actually I'm not. I'm going to put a little bit of Bucktail on. And my Bucktail's right here. Just to give this a tiny bit more something there at the tail end. So I'm not going to use any flash. In this little fluorescent orange, there's actually a little bit of built-in flash there. So right now what I'm doing, you can't see it, but you've seen me do it before, is I'm pulling out all the shorts. Pulling out all the shorts, and then I'm going to pull out all the crazy longs. And now I'm just going to make this hair longer, just a little tiny bit longer than the Hotspot, and I'm going to trim my length so that it ends up in front of the bead. And I'm actually going to start at the bead chain, just so that we can't mess it up. Couple of loose wraps, working it around the Hotspot. And I just bring it back continuously. I haven't really pulled hard because I don't want it to really start to spread out until I get to that tie-in point. Once I get into that same area where I tied in the Hotspot, then I could pull this deer hair hard. Make sure it's all locked in, just like that. So now I'm going to go ahead and put in my eyes. I'm going to do the eyes one at a time. And I'm probably going to use, I have this little iron that I just got, and it works great at bending the mono, the hard mono, so that I can get the eyes right where I want them. So I'm going to just present it looking at my length. I'll show you again, I like my eyes to be a feature that's distinguishable. So I like my eyes big, I make them myself, and I like them kind of protruding so that a fish sees them. And again, hard mono really is hard, as the name says. So I use my wire cutters when I trim the hard mono. Bring my thread back. And now I'm going to do the opposite side eye. And I'm just going to make sure, a couple of loose wraps, making sure that the length is good, that they're more or less the same length. And it doesn't even matter really. I do kind of want them to be a little bit splayed out, but I'm gonna heat these up and put them right where I want them. Again, I'm going to use my wire cutters. And now I can get this little iron going. Doesn't take long to get the iron going. It's hard for me to do it and show you how I want it to be. Just like that. Do the opposite side. Just like that. Beautiful. Alright, set that aside. So now it's the ribbing. I normally just take the whole ribbing out of the package so I don't have a lot of waste, but for the video we'll go ahead and have a little bit of waste. So we're just gonna tie in the ribbing. And we're going to make sure that we bring the ribbing to where we want it to start wrapping. Now I need one piece of ostrich. Doesn't have to be super long, but I like to get one that I know is in good shape and should make it to the end of the ribbing. And we're going to tie it in place. So now you can use your rotary function, or you can do this old school. But the key to doing this nicely now is keeping material separated, for one. The key is to, when you're doing this ribbing, you don't want it to be, of course it needs to look nice and tight, but you want to have a tiny gap between the rows of the ribbing. So I'm going to start my ribbing, and I'm basically going to do touching turns, but they're not like super hard touching turns. And we're going to get just to the back side of the bead chain. Now we're going to capture this. And now we could trim off the excess ribbing. Now we're going to take that ostrich hurl, and we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to wrap it right in that ridge of the ribbing. Capture the ostrich. Beautiful. And all that does is give it a little bit more texture. It's nothing really, just gives it a little bit more life, something that might wiggle just a little bit more. Alright, so basically the body's done. So now we could flip this fly over. Maybe we leave it the way it is. Just flip the vise over. Do want to straighten it out just a little bit. Okay, I'll sip my cocktail. Now it's the wing. You know, the amount of material here, I personally like to keep things on the light side. You know, I think that we have materials that are going to have action and they're just going to do their job without having to be bulky. I don't know, I just think sparse is better. Less is more. So now I've taken out all the shorts like I do. And what length am I looking for? I'm basically looking for at least the length of the overall length of the fly. Maybe a little bit longer even. And once I have that, I am going to trim away the waist. So now I don't do any more tying behind the bead chain eye at this point. So a couple of loose wraps, making sure that I like where it is, and then I just crank it hard. You notice I didn't even bother to get the materials on both sides of the hook. We can do that as soon as I'm done with this base. And that came out perfect. Just like that. So the next thing I'm going to put on is 1/2 of a strand of Krystal Flash. And to be honest with you, this is just something that I personally like. There's a little bit of flash in that fluorescent orange, a tiny bit of flash built in there. Sometimes less is more again. I'm going to go ahead and just put this on the thread, divide it as evenly as I can, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right on top. Couple of wraps. Now I'm going to try to divide it so that they sit. You usually have they naturally pick a side, which they did, And now we're just going to make sure that we like where they end up, which I do. Beautiful. And the length, using that half a strand, the length is like perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and separate the last material. I'm going to get 3 or 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is enough. 1, 2, 3. Gotta get the correct 4. You'll see a lot of videos where people just rip these off. I like to snip them off, and I like to have the tag all the way to the last second. Keeps them together, keeps them, in my personal opinion, a little bit easier to work with. Again, we're going to do the same thing. Just going to put them on the thread about as even as I can get them. Dead center. I'm going to go ahead and give this a couple of wraps. And now I don't even need to splay these. You know, just keeping them dead center is perfect. And that's the fly, boys and girls. That came out super good. Now I'm going to trim these because they got that tag. I want to keep them as long as I possibly can. You got to make sure that you don't have any other material in your fingers. I had the Krystal flash trap there. So remember, they're rubbery, so you don't want to pull them too tight. And just one cut and you get them all. Beautiful. Super nice. So now it's a whip finish and UV resin. And because I'm using the UV resin, I really don't need to put a second whip finish in, but what the heck. I'm going to do it just to be safe. Trim off my thread. I can use this awesome new tool to clean up everything. Gotta give it a second to get hot. Boy, this fly is gonna be awesome in Florida. In the inshore. This guy's gonna be a murderer. We'll come back to that. Needs a little bit more time warming up. I'm gonna get a little bit of UV resin, making sure that everything is where I want it. Alright, so we're back. So there it is. Hope you're still enjoying a cocktail with me. So this is a very simple fly. Great fly to tie, great fly to fish. Will definitely get a lot of bites. I'm going to go ahead and put links in the description below. I'll put a link to the furry, Charlie. I'll put a link to how I make the eyes. Super simple. You know, there's a lot of materials that you can buy, including eyes. I just think that I just enjoy doing them. Anything that I make just gives it a little bit more of a personalized touch. But you can see how much action this is going to have. It's just a great little fly. You could see that when this sits flat on the bottom, it's gonna look up like a shrimp would. So I think it has a very crustacean feel to it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Don't forget to look me up on Instagram. Good luck catching, and see you on the next video.